So this is Sunday afternoon, 4 o'clock Thai time, and midday or late morning UK time. I see Carl just joined. Good to see you. So, Kawan, will you restate your question, your topic?
Yeah. Well, I have many days in the morning. I wake up and in the first few hours of the day, I just does not feel like doing the practice. Just taking a deep, long in and out breath feels like a lot of effort. Feels like I don't have any motivation to do it. Yeah. And I think it has to do because of me not sleeping well some days. I feel a lot of tension. So the first few hours, and sometimes it can take all the way till midday, and then slowly I can get into the practice. But before that, just feels very heavy. Not doing the practice feels more. Uh, it feels, let's say, nicer maybe than doing the practice.
All right. Let me ask you a kind of a personal question.
Yep.
When you were a Muslim, were you practicing?
Well, I was very young, so I was practicing. Let's say my family was practicing, yes, but I was very young, so for me,
So you did it, you went to the mosque or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
someplace,
yeah, yeah,
got down on a carpet,
yeah, 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 yeah,
prostrated,
yeah,
and said
yeah,
prayers.
yes.
Okay. And how old were you when you stopped doing that?
I think around 15, 16.
Okay. Why did you quit?
I around 16. I was 13 years old when we came to the Netherlands. We went to live in the Netherlands, and I started learning the language, the Dutch language. And around 15, 16, I used to go to the library, and I was reading the Quran in the library, and for the first time. And after reading it, I could not believe it anymore. So slowly from then on, I had like I'm much more loving, and I have much more compassion in me than the guy who has written this book. So slowly I got away from it. Yeah.
All right. You know that the Quran is written in two parts, and
Yeah.
that the
The
second
early
part
part
is
and
the
the
early, and the
yeah.
first part is the late. So, which part of the book did you start at the beginning of the book?
I start at the beginning. Yes.
Ah, that'll take anybody out of Islam.
And it was something like, oh, I have made some people, I have made them like they are blind and they cannot hear. Basically, they cannot hear this message. So don't convert them into Islam because it is impossible for them to believe in this book. And because of that, I will let them burn in hell. So I had the feeling like, so you have made me to make it for me impossible to believe in you, and because of that you are going to punish me for that.
Mhm.
So it started with some doubts like that, and yeah.
Well, not to get too far into it, but just one little thing is that when Muhammad was in Mecca, he was telling the family and the ones who ran the Kaaba good stuff, and they didn't like it because it would remove their fortune.
Hmm.
And so they kind of chased him out, and he went to Medina, where he was there well accepted, and then he got a lot of power, and then literally all hell broke loose. He started robbing. He was what, a desert pirate, and he had a grudge against Mecca and all kinds of things like that. So you can actually say that the first part of the Quran, where he was in Medina, was hell, including the massacre of what, 800 Jews because they traded with Mecca, right? So, um, here's a question for you. I have been told by several that the children in Islam are taught to love Muhammad as children, and it's not until later, like in their teens or later, where they really find out about what a scoundrel he actually was later.
Yeah, yeah, he's the ideal man. He's the one. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he's
almost the
taught to the
holy man. Yeah,
children that
yeah, yeah,
he's the ideal man.
yeah, yeah,
Well, guess what? Isn't if he's the ideal man and he's going around slaughtering people and causing wars and being a desert pirate, does that mean then that people who idealize him will do things like have jihads and ISILs and ISIS and trying to reestablish a caliphate in
yeah.
a violent way?
Yeah, but how I see it, how I see it, because I am from a Muslim family, I believe that 95% of Muslims have never read the Quran. Let's say my family, my father, my mother, my uncles, everyone in my family, they all believe that the message is very good and that he's literally the ideal man, and they follow it in that way. And that's why most Muslims are very okay people and loving people. And there is only a small percentage of people who truly read, and then two things happen, I believe. Some of them become those extreme Muslims, and some of them became same like me and they give it up. But
Yeah,
the other part of it, the 90%, they just truly believe that it is the message of God and that is loving. And so basically my family and all the people I know, they are very good people. But that's because they don't read the Quran.
all right. So going back to the original point of me asking these questions is that you did 5 times a day when you were a child go to the mosque and do the bowing and
Prayers. Yeah,
scraping and pray, and you
yeah,
did that
yeah,
no matter what. Is
yeah,
that correct?
yeah,
Okay. And so you felt kind of obligated to do that 5 times a day.
yeah.
All right. So now we have a new kind of practice. And it's funny that this kind of practice that we have of anapanasati actually has good benefit, but that now you're resisting doing it. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Because you don't see that there's actually an obligation to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Bhikkhu Buddhadasa actually taught on a frequent basis that we actually have a duty to the Dhamma. We have an obligation. And when I first heard that, I didn't like it at all. I rebelled. But slowly I began to understand that what he was meaning is that we have all kinds of obligations. You have an obligation to eat. You have an obligation to breathe. You have an obligation to say hi to people. All right? All kinds of little obligations. And that the obligations that we do well are the ones that we like, and the ones that we resist, we kind of fail at. And so, in reality, if you consider the Dhamma as all of life itself, it's the reality. That in fact, there are several words in Nepalian. One of them is Dhammakai, which means the full body of the Dhamma, which is everything. And in that regard, we have all kinds of duties. We have duty to not step on a snake. We have duties to pick up the doggy poop when they do it in the front room. There's all kinds of duties. And if we don't do our duties, then we suffer. So, in that time when you first wake up and you feel resistant to practice, that feeling resistant and I can't do it, that's then the fruit of your action of resisting the Dhamma. And that if you would go ahead and do it, you would feel better. Now, one thing that we need to do is to get you straightened back out about timing. And so the first thing that I want to talk about is the night before, not the morning after, but the night before. that the Buddha actually has recommended that people sleep on their side. And when people sleep on their back, or worse still, sleep on their stomach, they don't get good rest. They get cricks in the neck, they get back problems and all kinds of things. But if we sleep on the side with the actually, the formal posture is to bend the knees slightly and then have one foot over the other. And then you can use the robe or a towel or your arm, or modern times would use a pillow. And that you would want to rest that on the neck, so on the shoulder, so that it's only slightly bent and that your head is kind of elevated. There are, by the way, many, many photographs, or not photographs so much as statues and Buddha rupas that you can actually, on Google, you can Google reclining Buddha and then look at the images and see how many there are. Now, most of them are on the right side, but some of the images are on the left side, and that the modern sleep therapy, the science is that it's actually slightly better to sleep on the left side than it is on the right side, because of the heart's position and drainage and blood pressures and all of that kind of stuff. But definitely sleeping on one side. Now, what will happen is that once you start training yourself to lay on one side or the other, then you'll have a choice to move from one side to the other, depending upon the state or the shape of the body. An example of that is that I tend to have an earache on the left side when I wear headphones. And so for that reason, I'll lay on the right side. So after we start doing that practice, we'll actually sometimes wake up in the middle of the night and recognize that the body has shifted into the old postures that we've gotten used to, and that we'll consciously go back into the laying on the side. Now, that's especially true when you are sleeping on a hard surface. Now, the Buddha was living in the woods, living in a hut. Asians don't do much about mattresses anyway. It's still typical in the, well, I'll make this point. In northern climates, you want to get away from the floor because the floor is cold. In tropical areas, you want to keep close to the floor because the floor is cool. And for that reason, we don't use high lofty beds. We use low furniture. I mean, you're in Phuket. You actually know what I'm talking about. You've
Yep.
seen enough of the Thai
Yep.
culture to recognize that. Okay. So this would be the place to start, is to start intentionally sleeping on the right or the left side. And as you go to sleep, you can also intentionally breathe well, and you can actually also intentionally have wholesome thoughts. Like, for instance, if you're worried about something, you can say, oh, I don't have to worry about that right now. Oh, I'm going to have a really easy, nice night. Now, for people who have insomnia, the right thing to say is, oh, well, I've got no place to go and nothing to do. And even if I don't go to sleep, at least I have nothing to do for the next 8 hours. Let me enjoy that. All right. So we begin to put our mind in a good state as we're laying down. Now, this actually goes back to the question that I was asking about prostrating 5 times a day. We can actually think of that we're going to actually practice this thing 5 or 6 times a day. I don't know why in the Quran it goes down from 50 down to 5. It could have gone from 50 to
Yeah.
12 or to 7 or to 8. There's nothing magical about the number 5. But what we can do is we're going to break up the day and have various times a day that we're actually going to practice. Now, we can do that according to our lifestyle, but we all tend to go to bed at night. And so that would be one place to where we can, in fact, go to sleep or go to bed with right noble effort, taking the right effort to get the right body posture, to have the right kind of thoughts for sleeping, etc., like that. Christopher, you know what I'm talking about here, haven't you? You've been actually trained to sleep on your side. Is that not correct?
Well, I read it. So personally, I have a bad rotator cuff, so my right side lion's pose is just kind of off limits because it irritates my shoulder. And when I sleep on my left side, sometimes the eustachian tubes, the pressure gets messed up. So I thought I
Maybe
was
by
having a hearing.
adjusting the pillow, that effort or that issue can be eliminated.
Yeah, so I thought I was having hearing loss initially in the beginning, but eventually over time, listening to my body, I figured out what was going on here, and I worked through it. So I normally sleep on my left side now.
Oh, well, good. Congratulations. All right. So, I kind of stumble over bodies here on the porch from time to time, and I recognize that Mikey has been sleeping on his side. You tend to sleep on the right side. So this is something that the Buddha has mentioned or is actually part of the training. And so if you train yourself well, another quality would be is that if you go to sleep with good, happy thoughts, then whatever dreams you have or none at all will be more pleasant dreams. And then you'll probably wake up in a more refreshed, relaxed way. So if we wake up in the morning, then we can go back to those 5 prostration times. The waking up is another time that we're going to practice. And what are we going to practice when we wake up early in the morning? We're going to practice everything is all right, everything is fine, whatever crick in the neck is no big deal. I feel good. All right. Now, these kind of statements they're I understand that they're thoughts and that they're discursive thoughts in the beginning, but they do have an effect upon our attitude. And the way that you've been talking, your attitude when you wake up in the morning is a victim's attitude. You're victimized by the body, you're victimized by it's too much work, etc., like that. And you can actually start having wholesome thoughts in the morning to change your attitude into, I can do this. I can control my attitude for the day. I could get up in the morning, I could feel good. You don't even have to get out of bed. In fact, I would recommend that you take 5 or 10 minutes, just like you would at the mosque, except that you're still in bed. Don't get out of bed right away. What you want to do instead is plan for the day by planning to have a good, wholesome attitude for the day. And so work on having a good, wholesome attitude. That you talked about that it's hard for you to breathe. Well, let's not start with the breathing. Let's start with having good, wholesome thoughts that lead to a good, wholesome attitude. And then you'll start breathing well almost automatically, especially in the sense of it going to sleep at night and you have the thought, wow, there's no place to go and nothing to do, and I can just lay here and enjoy the night. What a relief it is. And there's that long, deep breath. It's almost automatic. especially when it's intentional. Then you begin to plan for it on a regular basis, that you're going to have a long, deep, automatic out breath that feels good. It feels relaxing. That breath that feels good, relaxing on the out breath, is actually now going back to that statement about doing your duty to the Dhamma, and then you get the benefit for doing your duty to the Dhamma immediately, right then and there. Now, a lot of religions, Islam, Christianity, and especially Hinduism, talk about built up results, that you do a good action now and you may have to wait centuries
Yep.
for the results. You have to wait until you're dead to get the results. That's like putting your money in the bank and then waiting for the bank to go bankrupt and then you go get your money back.
It's
Unlikely.
also as a form of gambling. I see it like you're literally gambling with your life.
Mm-hmm. Yes, in a way, not practicing the Dhamma correctly is kind of a gamble, except that you're gambling against the house, which is kind of rigged against us. But if we're practicing correctly, almost as if you've learned to count cards, you've learned to look at what's happening, and then you turn the odds in your own favor. This is what actually the practice is all about, is turning because of your awareness, because you're actually practicing correctly, you have a better shot at it. And the results are immediate. You get immediate benefit. And this is also part of what we call right noble effort, that if you don't have the right noble effort, you don't have the energy to start practicing correctly, then you can start thinking about, oh, the benefits of practicing correctly and feeling good about it will then be the effort motivator that you need. In other words, you begin to change your attitude from, I don't have the energy, I don't have the effort to do it. And then we change our attitude to, oh, yes, I do. I just found a little extra penny's worth of effort. And then I can start to practice correctly. Now, to kind of finish this off, let's look at what we're going to do with the other times during the day. That even though the actual practice of anapanasati is not the same thing as a formal meditation practice, just like 5 times a day, formal prostrations at the mosque. But a lot of people in Buddhism think that, oh, I've got to meditate once a day for a long, long time. And a much better thing to do is to break it up into small sessions. Imagine that they did all of the 5 prostrations that they do 5 times a day. They say, well, let's just not waste so much time traveling to the mosque. Let's do all 5 prostrations all at the same time. Let's take an hour and do all the prostrations at 6 p.m. That would get a bit tough for people, wouldn't it? Hard on the knees, hard on the ankles, hard on the attitude, etc., like that. So let's change that point about doing it all at one time and break it up into several times a day. But it's still kind of a formal practice. But we have to make the time to formally practice. And what are we going to formally practice? Well, very similar to what we're going to be practicing when we first wake up in the morning, and very similar to the formal practice that we're going to be doing when we're getting ready to go to sleep, when we're in bed. And that is intentionally giving ourselves wholesome thoughts in order for us to intentionally change our attitude. And with our intentional attitude change, we actually begin to change the way that we feel. We actually begin to get the energy that we need to take the right noble effort. because we can see that this has got benefits immediately. There's immediate benefits. Wow, what a relief it is. And with those immediate benefits, there's that good deep breathing starting up. Now we can actually use the breath as a tool to develop the skill of sati, of mindfulness, in the sense that if you mindfully breathe in long, that's a point of sati. You have to actually remember, I'm going to take a long, deep breath. And then we take the effort to take the long, deep breath. Both of these are mental. So the long, deep breath doesn't happen just by itself. It takes the mind. The mind is the forerunner. And so if we take the attitude of, oh, I couldn't bother taking a long, deep breath, then you're not getting any value out of it. So you build that up from taking a long, happy thought to gain yourself a long, happy attitude. I can do this. And then that long, deep, happy breath is much easier to do. That I know that the Satipatthana has it in the sense of the body, the feelings, the mind, and the mind's objects, but that the order that they are in is more traditional Hindu, or actually, let us say, old in the time of the Buddha, science. These are actually referred to as the four elements. Now we have how many elements? 92 and counting, depending upon how big our CERN is, how big our nuclear reactor is. We can make some new ones, but the natural ones, I think, is kind of stuck at 92. Well, in the time of the Buddha, they only had four elements: that which was hard, solid, that which was fluid, that which was temperature related, especially heat or fire, and then that which was the result of the heat, and that is movement. So air moves. And that's one of the things that you can begin to pay attention to, is the air that moves when you're breathing. It not only moves on the inside, but it moves on the outside, that you can actually feel it on the body. And so there you are laying in bed at night, breathing well, liking it, and you can feel how good the body feels. Oh, this feels really nice. Oh, it feels so good. And you can take that breath and you can feel the covers, you can feel the warmth, you can feel if it's cool, you can feel the coolness, you can feel the breeze if you've got a fan blowing or if you're outdoors. And so beginning to pay attention to the movement of the air and how it affects the body. So this is what we can practice with the body. Now, the whole point of the Anapanasati, the Kaya Nupassana, is that by paying attention to the body, paying attention to the breathing, paying attention to the movement of the body as it's breathing and its environment, that actually then leads to this item number 4 on the list of relaxing the body. Now, a lot of people actually go to bed tense, worried, uptight, thinking about what they've got to do tomorrow, and the body is not really relaxed. And as you go to sleep, it's not relaxed. During the dream time, it's not relaxed. They're not getting a good night's sleep. They wake up in the morning with crick in the neck and not feeling good. So one of the things that you can really start to pay attention to is to use your breathing when you go to sleep at night, to experience the body, to find any tensions in them and intentionally relax so that you feel good when you're laying there. To check that out. How does the body feel? Does it actually feel relaxed laying in this posture? This is the part of the practice. When you wake up in the morning, you would go through that same process of having happy thoughts, being able to change your attitude, looking at the body. How does the body feel this morning? Does it feel relaxed? Does it feel capable of managing the day? Yeah, I can handle this, especially if there's no place to go and nothing to do. I can handle nothing really well. I've gotten used to it. I'm an expert at handling doing nothing. But it takes practice. Most people can't handle doing nothing. They go nuts. A really good example of that is prison. What's the worst punishment that they can do? They call it putting you in the hole or putting you in isolation, where there's no place to go and nothing to do, and people go nuts there. I've often imagined myself, what would I have to do or how would I handle prison? And always I come up with, wow, let me in there. I would make a really ideal prisoner. I'd have nothing to do and no place to go, and everything is cool. All you have to do is keep those thugs away from me.
One
And
of
if
my
they come in and
biggest
beat me
fears,
up, I've still got no place to go and nothing to do. So,
one of my biggest fears actually that to get in a prison and not being able to live, to escape. So the way you're looking at it, yeah, that's so so different than how I would handle it right now. Yeah.
well, if you have bullies there, remember that all the bullies hate each other, and each bully will find a gang to get into. And the real answer then would be to be friends with the bullies. Hi, how you doing? Oh, you want cake off of my plate? Sure, you can take my lunch. They almost always do that, by the way, to the new kid that's in the prison, is they're going to test him. And very rarely do you have anybody that happily offers his food. If somebody happily offers his food to the thug, to the bully, guess what? He don't want it. He really never did want it. What he wanted was power and control.
Yep.
And all I have to offer really is friendship. I'll be your friend. I'll teach you how to be happy if you listen. I've thought about that several times. I bet I could take a whole prison. If you gave me a life sentence and I was a young man, by the time I finished with that prison, you'd have happy guards, you'd have happy inmates, you'd have happy wardens, and the people who own that prison would really hate me.
I believe it. Yeah.
All right, so you can have that same attitude about going to prison. Nothing to it. There's no place to go and nothing to do. We can just hang out. What, that empty cell? Throw me in there. I'll be happy in there. But this takes mental training. And the place to train is in your bed at night. And then later, a time to train is when you're sitting in front of the keyboard and you've got whatever job that you're doing at that keyboard and you're getting frustrated and you don't like it and you can't think of what to do. You can just close the lid of that keyboard and says, wow, I don't have to do that right now. I'm going to take the right noble effort of taking a deep breath and relaxing. Oh, what a relief it is. I don't have to do that work right now. I can sit here and be happy. And after we get ourselves happy again, after 5-7 minutes, then we can open the keyboard and do the work. Now, if somebody works for 1 hour and 2 hours, they'll probably get dull and tired, and the work that they're doing is not all of that great. But if everybody would take 5 minutes off every hour to refresh their mind, to get themselves in a really good state, they'd probably be more productive. So the right way to handle that then is to just take your time. Stop doing the work. Enjoy the moment. Everything is okay. No place to go, nothing to do for a little while. That's especially true if you don't like what you're doing, if you're doing what you were told to do. Now, almost all the people that I know of who have jobs, they took the job because they thought they needed it and that they do what they're told to do, just like we did in school. We do what we're told to do in school and we hate it. The only time we like school is recess. Well, let's take some recess. Let's take a recess every hour. Let's get away from it. And when we get a recess, we're going to feel happy. We can come back in to the job and begin to do it happily. We don't have to hate the job. We can enjoy it. But we have to practice doing that because we're so well skilled at hating what we've been told to do. So we can do this 5, 6, 7, 12 times a day. We can do it when we wake up in the morning. We can do it several times during the day. Another good time to do it is when you're in transportation. In fact, the one thing that I would recommend highly is if you're driving to work, do it mindfully. Keep your mind on, keep your eye on the road and your mind out of everything else, and just watch the road with thoughts like, I could do this. I can do this happily. I can sit here and drive this car and watch what's going on. I don't get distracted. I don't eat. I don't cell phone. I don't lollygag. I don't rubberneck. I watch what's happening. And I can do that happily. And in fact, I would say that monks and other good practitioners make actually excellent drivers. Why? Because they're paying attention to the road. They don't get lost in thought or lost in McDonald's hamburger or lost on the cell phone or yelling at the kids. They're just enjoying watching the road. Also, if you take public transportation, that's an excellent time to practice. Just sit there and just say, wow, this is so nice. While the train is traveling, I don't have any place to go, nothing to do. Wow, what a relief it is. I can just sit here happily. So there are many times throughout the day that you can find this really, really very relaxing. For the monks, waiting around for the food, instead of being impatient, oh, I wish they'd stop chanting and start eating so I can eat. Instead, we can say, oh, wow, right now I don't have anything to do, no place to go. I can listen to those chants. Maybe even I might start to learn them by listening, by practicing. Yeah, yes, Christopher, I'm pointing at you. Go ahead.
So my first, I guess, intense exposure to Buddhism was in a Thich Nhat Hanh monastery. And so I lived there as a layperson for a few months for a rains retreat. And Plum Village is very big on mindfulness, to the point that instead of sila, concentration and insight, it's smrti or sati, or mindfulness, concentration and insight. And so when you come to Plum Village, one of the things they drill you on is the use of gathas, or little poems, as brain tricks for increasing and refining and strengthening your mindfulness. And so I was reminded earlier this talk that there's one gatha that I pretty much still do every morning. It's a routine. And it's waking up this morning, I smile. 24 brand new hours are before me. I vow to live each hour mindfully and to see all living beings with compassion. And it's not just the words, but an important part is the
We
I
start
smile
with the words,
part.
but then you begin to get the attitude that you can do that.
So in the first sentence, it says, I smile. And Thich Nhat Hanh called it mouth yoga. So when you smile, the muscles in your face wake up at the same time as the soles of my feet touch the floor. And that's the beginning of my day. And when I do that, it's generally a good thing. It's a routine. It's like the 5 times a day thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, there's the walk to the bathroom to go pee. There's a Gatha for that if you want to do that.
I find it amusing that you call it a gotcha. Others would probably use it.
Gatha. Gatha.
Oh, all right. I got you.
And then when you're
I
in
got
when
you.
you're in the lunch line, I'm not waiting, I'm breathing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not waiting at the cashier with the person in front of me who's trying to find change in their purse to pay for this. I'm not waiting, I'm breathing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
So those are,
gathas are mind tricks to bring you back to mindfulness.
if you don't mind, on the Skype, would you write some of those out for us? That would be very handy for some of
Okay.
us here.
Okay.
All right. So, Karwan, do you have any questions about what we've been talking about today?
No, I really like it. I'm going to practice because sleep is one of the things that it repeats every 24 hours. So and every time it gives me stress. So if I don't get any stress from that, then it'd be nice. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to practicing. Yeah, especially changing my sleeping position and see how that will affect my sleep.
Very good. How about you, Ben?
No questions, Dhammarato. I think it's interesting. I did read the Quran once a long time ago, and I think it mentions in there something about recommended sleeping postures, and I'm sure it's the same, like sleeping on your left side, possibly. I don't know if you can remember, Kawan, whether
Really.
nothing in there. No.
I haven't read the entire Quran.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't doubt that would be in there, especially because Bedouins, which is where that literature came from, Arabs and Bedouins, they sleep. I mean, there are no beds. They don't have high, lofty beds that you can find comfort in every posture.
Yeah.
And so they would have
a lot more. Sorry.
Even if it is not in Quran, they have probably in other writings because they have for every
hadith,
movement that you make, even the way how you eat, with which hand you need to eat, and how. So for everything they have written something about. So probably for sleep they have also written.
Yeah. Perhaps it wasn't in the Quran itself, but in the recommended.
The hadiths,
Yeah.
So you have anything else to talk about with what we've been talking about today? All right, Kat. Hello. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello. I don't really have anything to say other than here in this sort of part of Thailand, they have these wooden pillows that I found very helpful to sleep on. And I think what I've noticed is even the better I've got at that practice, the less sleep I need overall, really. I found it surprising, 4 or 5 hours sleep really does it nowadays. And I think I think
I would always lay a cloth like the Sangati over that hard pillow. And by the way, there is a reason for that. And the only place that I've actually seen the wooden pillows was at Wat Suan Mok. And that the reason for the wooden pillows is that when kutis are empty and nobody is sleeping there, the animals will come in and eat the kapok pillows, which are much more common throughout Thailand.
Yeah.
And so instead of having kapok that has to get replaced all the time, they started putting out wooden pillows, because the kapok pillow is pretty hard already anyway, and quite tasty for squirrels.
Well, I think also like hard surfaces in general are just so much better than like getting all a little bit like yeah, I find it easy to like fall into the pleasure of sleeping with all the comfort, like the nice kind of fluffy pillows and mattresses, and just a yoga mat really is not good enough for solid sleep. And yeah, most of the beds here are wooden too, so it's not it's not too attractive to just like follow, like kind of like find somewhere to sleep, because it's not really nice, you know, it's not too nice. But I suppose
Well, it
mainly all.
actually beats two things. It beats concrete, and it beats sleeping actually on the hard ground.
Yeah, I think sleeping on the hard or sleeping on concrete is probably not a good idea for long term, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Especially since concrete tends to suck the heat out of somebody, so you do need some sort of padding. But the wood, that's good insulation right there in the wood itself.
Yeah, the wood's good enough, really. I mean, you get so used to it. It's like soft, you know. It just becomes like soft. It's nice. A little mattress or a yoga mat.
It actually does depend upon what kind of wood it is. Now,
Yeah.
in the old days, there was a lot of teak here, and so they tend to make the cooties and the beds and the wood. Everything is made out of teak, and teak is a hard wood. They also would use bamboo. Bamboo actually is quite comfortable in the sense that every slat is bendable. But again, the teak or the bamboo tends to get eaten by the rats and the squirrels, and so they tend to use the harder wood for so that they don't have to replace it a lot. All right, so Patrick, what do you have to say? Are you there?
It's all good.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
here. Yeah. I don't have anything to say.
All right. How do you sleep? What postures do you sleep in?
I sleep on the side, and I change posture left and right during the night.
Okay. So how do you wake up in the morning? Do you wake up in the morning refreshed or tired like Karsan?
I'm kind of jet lagged all the time because I work night shifts. So yeah, tired.
All right. So Carl, do you have anything to say? Go ahead, I'm waiting. Yes, I can hear you.
I said I sleep well.
Huh. I'm sorry I didn't catch that. Mikey, what did he say? He said he went to sleep. We talked about going to sleep.
I heard that he fell asleep.
I thought he said I sleep
No, I
well.
said I sleep well. I sleep really well. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thanks for clarifying.
However, with the postures, with the found that the softer the bed is, the harder it is to sleep on the side. So if something's really soft, I find it hard to sleep on my side. Unlike if I sleep on the ground or a yoga mat, I find it easier to sleep on the side.
Okay. Ivan.
I sleep really well. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I sleep really well. Typically just I don't know. I lay like a dead person, like I don't know, like just flat. My back flat with the surface, like just my yeah. It's just like that. There's no special posture. I don't really sleep on the side. I sleep on a yoga mat.
Well, you being in Malaysia, actually, look at how many we've got here. We've got Ivan in Malaysia. We've got Karan in Phuket. We've got Cathal at Watsu and Mok at Dam Kiem, and we've got Mikey here. We've got an Asian community, and Christopher is in Chiang Mai. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually,
Vietnam.
we're a majority.
Yeah, it's in Vietnam.
Who's in Vietnam?
Ben, you're in Vietnam, right?
Yeah, in Hanoi.
Oh, okay. All right. So, Mikey, why don't you take it home?
Yeah, I did want to mention with right side sleeping, I've heard that it can aid in digestion, but I don't know too much about the actual science behind that.
Well, actually, in the literature that I've read, it does aid in digestion.
Okay. And another thing I'd like to recommend that I've heard Buddhadasa talk about is playing with short breathing in the morning at the start of the day. So, Karwan, you can also try.
Energizing. Yes, the short breath. Short breath is really energizing. It's mindful, but it's short. And that'll really pump you up. Thanks for mentioning that, Mikey.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and check out the YouTube description. We've got links to our website, opensanghafoundation.org, where you can make friends, find Watts, and see all sorts of resources and things to play with related to the Noble Buddha Dhamma. Also, you're welcome to join our Sangha. We're here on Skype, Discord, and we're making new friends every day. We've got quite the community growing, and yeah, we are hearing Kat's growing the Open Sangha Foundation Facebook. So yeah, you can find us.
Open Sangha also has quite a presence now on Facebook. Thanks to Kat.
Yeah, so come make friends and yeah, take care, everyone. Thank you all for being here today.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks, Dhammarato.
Any
See you,
last
everyone.
Thank
words?
you.
All right.
Don't worry, be happy.
Don't worry. Be happy.
Just keep breathing.